Welcome back. It's now time for our discussion segment. Well, information has been around that the humanitarian and founder of the non-profit foundation HaitiChildren, Susie Krabacher, has been denied entry into Jamaica twice. This follows allegations about the care being given to the 59 disabled Haitian children who arrived here from the violence-torn nation. We have joining us via Zoom to discuss these and other related matters, Attorney at Law Marcus Goffe. Welcome, Mr. Goffe.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lewis. Thanks for having me.
Indeed. Well, Mr. Goffe, these are some intriguing matters to discuss, but we always want to find out more. So can you provide us with an update on the situation regarding the founder of the HaitiChildren Foundation?
Well, I really don't have any other information other than what I see is now available in the press. I mean, what we have heard really, is concerning, right? It really, as they say, intrigue, is a part of what we see is happening now, and it somehow, is of spotlight now because of the issue with the children, of course, of Haiti and Haitians in jeopardy, So what we hope is that this is something that is not going to detract from the situation, and it's not going to make it more difficult for us to assist those in need.
Indeed. Well, based on the reports that we would have seen in the papers, one of the indicators was that she may have been sent back at least from 2 separate airports on 2 different occasions. So would you perceive that any of her rights could have been breached by not being able to land?
Well, unless there's a legal basis that was, cited when she was refused entry, right, then there would be concern there. I mean, again, I don't have the full facts to be able to say what was the legal basis, if any, that was used, but certainly what we see in the press, as I say, is not clear to us on what legal basis she was refused entry, right? She has an interest here, certainly, in the context of the arrangement with her organization concerning the children that are placed here. And so, one would have some difficulty understanding, right, why the government would want to refuse her entry.
Right. Well, we are also interested in learning more about the situation impacting the children who are here in Jamaica, some of whom we understood were severely disabled. We understand there are some reports of maltreatment as well as some other infractions, so to speak, concerning how they're being handled here. Do you believe that the foundation could take legal action as a result?
Well, that question again, would require a lot more information and facts, but certainly, I mean, what does seem apparent, right, is that, maybe the sort of proper preparatory planning would have been expected to have gone into, the process and the arrangements, right? In having such a large number of persons, of children, particularly the disabled children and orphans in that context also, move from Haiti to Jamaica, I think it's something that we would need to also consider. Sometimes we may think that, arrangements are useful to help, but then if we don't properly think of all of the aspects and elements required, logistically, then you may find that actually it has unforeseen consequences, And certainly a group like this, as we have with all of, their vulnerabilities, we need to have proper sort of preparatory planning. And so, again, when we first heard the announcement, we were concerned. It did seem that there may have been, on the government's part, a significant willingness to have this facilitated, right, as a response to some of the criticisms they were receiving at the time. Right? And that is where we think there's, a need for us to properly look at the situation of Haitians in Jamaica, right? Their vulnerability, they're moving from a place of crisis into here, Jamaica, where they need to have proper facilitation. I mean, making available resources from the state, private sector, the churches, civil society, to make our Haitian family be able to be accommodated here, respect and with dignity.
Understood. I know also that you have had your own experience and challenges perhaps with handling situations having to do with the Haitian and the migration situation. what were some of the hiccups, if any, that you personally encountered in trying to assist or lobby for the Haitians?
Well, we have a we have a anti-Haiti stigma, unfortunately, in Jamaica and across the Caribbean, across the world, that is very pervasive, and that means that some persons then, feel that they are justified in having fear around engaging with Haitians, right? Some are fearful of, health concerns, of security concerns, and that means that sometimes it's challenging in person being able to extend to the Haitians sort of equal treatment as we would ourselves want to, have extended to us if we were in similar situations, right? So that's been a challenge as well too in the society, and particularly, of course, as a lawyer in having access to, Haitians who are in custody at police stations. Again, it's a difficulty, somehow a challenge of, beyond just a language barrier. We have access issues where the police sometimes say that they can't facilitate because it needs more resources, because the Haitians are numerous, and because again they're seen as some sort of an extra flight risk, right? And so the security response, the response of Jamaica's government as a security issue prioritized over looking at this issue as a humanitarian issue is something that I think we would need to review. I mean, recently we heard that there's a humanitarian stay for all Haitians in Jamaica, which is a good thing, and so we're hoping that the government can move wholeheartedly in that direction and ramp up the humanitarian response as opposed to the kind of security response to the issue.
I want to quickly wrap up, but you mentioned something about translation and it being a challenge, especially in dealing with them in the system. Who does the translation typically? Do you have a limitation there?
Yes, most certainly. Certainly, when the Haitians are prosecuted and charged, they're brought before the courts, which again, the Refugee Convention says we should not be criminalizing and prosecuting persons who are fleeing trauma and crisis. But here it is, we have them before the courts. And so in the courts, they have a translator who's required for the proper court processes and for a fair, court hearing to be undertaken. So normally, the court would have a translator available for court hearings. But for us now as lawyers who want to take instructions or to interview and consult with our clients, we would then have to have our own translators available, to either come with us.
Further challenge. All right, I have to really wrap it up, but I have a final question for you, Mr. Goffe. So we have a situation now where tensions are still high in Haiti. There is a team or a military team being organized by Kenya to go into that country shortly. Do you foresee that driving out more Haitians and sending them to Jamaica's shores?
Well, certainly I think escalation of any sort of violence and armed conflict is likely to cause more dissemination of persons, without a doubt. And also likely to cause more death as well too, more displacement, more vulnerability generally in Haitian population and in the security situation in neighboring countries. No doubt that will be, that's likely to happen.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time and expertise. That's attorney at law, Marcus Goffe. Thanks so much again.